One terrifying night of unspeakable evil. New Year's Evil.
Welcome to That's Canon, episode 12, the film podcast where we discuss the Canon film library and other similar movies. I'm your host, Philip.
And I'm Greg.
Greg, I think we're back on track.
Yes, we are. And
Okay.
I'm so happy that, I'm happy that we took a hiatus from bad comedies and didn't jump into the Apple right away. But I'm also glad that it was this movie because it was a good one.
Yes. I've never seen this one before, which is kind of surprising because I usually Google at the end of the year New Year's movies, and I end up watching The Poseidon Adventure with Gene Hackman every year, and Ghostbusters too, because at the end, it's New Year's in that one.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
This movie, though, has eluded me. I've never seen this on a list. I've never seen this talked about or spoke about being a New Year's movie.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I feel like the poster for this looked vaguely familiar to me. Like, I feel like it comes up in lists of slasher movies that you may have found here and there. But yeah, I mean, because like that was like a thing, right? Where they would find after Friday the 13th and Halloween, they tried to find like any old, like we got to have a slasher movie for every holiday. And I just, this kind of went under the radar somehow.
Yeah, you got like Happy Birthday to You. There's the 4th of July movie. I think it's called Uncle Sam.
My Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine, which is awesome. And then New Year's Evil, looking at the poster, don't dare make New Year's resolutions unless you plan to live. And then it has the guy busting through the calendar with the switchblade. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool poster, and like I said, this was probably the only thing in this movie, including actors, that I recognized ahead of time.
Yeah, I gotta say there weren't, I don't think, a single actor in this movie where I knew something that they did to be on this.
Not a single Star Trek person, not a single X-Files person, which are usually like the two go-tos we can find. So, they were in an episode of X-Files or TNG, but nope, not a single one this time.
Yep. Now the movie, New Year's Evil, directed by Emmett Alston. He's also done a couple ones, 9 Deaths of the Ninja, Demon Warp. But this one I saw, and I wanted to kind of just read you the tagline for this movie. It's called Three-Way Weekend.
Okay.
2 bisexual girls go camping in the woods and are followed around by a perverted guy in a gorilla mask and a man in a uniform with a whip who thinks everyone's a communist.
Wait. The perverted guy in a gorilla costume, like that's actually in the tagline?
Yes, it is.
Shit, why didn't we watch that movie?
Emmett Alston wrote and directed that movie. Really weird. Just something that I saw when I was looking up. Now, the writer for the movie is Leonard Neubauer. This was the last movie he ever wrote, and he only has 9 credits total. He wrote a couple TV shows, M Squad, The Millionaire, pretty much nothing that we would have ever seen.
Yeah.
But the movie, it opens up on... it says New Year's Evil. It has this awesome Canon logo in the beginning, though. It has like the C and the arrow, and then it opens up.
Okay, yeah, right. It was like a kind of like a neat little animation instead of just like where it kind of fades in and twinkles a little bit.
Yeah,
it was. Okay, I'm glad you wrote that down because I was racking my brain. I feel like we saw that in one of the previous movies we've done on the podcast, and I can't remember which, and I didn't have time to go back and go look it up, but I feel like it's a really cool way to do the logo, having it kind of assemble like that. But I feel like we should see it. I feel like we should see it more. It looks really cool.
It is definitely a lot better than just having the C, Canon logo type thing. A little pizzazz.
Yeah, a little pizzazz, kind of that 2-tone like blue and purple and.
And then that'll be our transition. So then we open up on an apartment building. It looks like it has a helicopter landing pad on the top of it because it has that ring of lights on top. And I thought that was going to come into play, but it never did.
It's too high budget.
We meet our first characters, Ernie, who's calling Yvonne to see if the press release is done. And then Dee gets a hold of Yvonne. Dee is going to be our main actress, our main character throughout this entire film. But Yvonne is, because she's kind of like a secretary or an assistant in the
Yeah, she
film.
seems like a PA or something. Kind of
So
girl.
she's like setting up and calling, and Yvonne informs Dee that Richard, her husband, Dee's husband, is in Palm Springs
Right.
drinking his face off, and he won't make the show.
Classic Richard, always getting loaded or always coked up.
What a dick. Yvonne, she goes to the mirror. She's starting to get gussied up, and there is Friday the 13th style, like cha cha cha.
Oh my God, yes. I'm so happy you mentioned that too, because like it is 100% a straight rip off. That like echoey male voice, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my ears when I heard it. It was such an obvious rip off.
Yeah. And Yvonne, she has this very distinct look. She has like shells and beads in her hair.
Yeah, kind of like the tight braids.
She's looking around. She goes out to the front of her hotel room, and the door is just open. Now, why isn't the door latched? When you go to a hotel room, I lock every lock.
Oh yeah, you do all the latch, and not only that, the door will often shut by itself because they're either weighted that way or something. But like, it's really hard to leave a hotel door open without like shoving something into it.
Exactly. So she goes back, not thinking too much of it, starts putting on some more makeup, and then out from the shower curtain, you see a switchblade ignite. It ignites.
A lightsaber ignites.
Yes, and Yvonne gets the shit stabbed out of her.
I thought that was like I thought it was a pretty effective little jump scare, because there was that, like, I think the faucet was dripping and she kept, we hear it through the whole, putting on makeup bit, and it's like actually starting to get kind of annoying, and she goes to go fix it. And I don't know. I mean, I thought it was actually a pretty effective jump scare when she kind of jumped out.
It was a very good opening. It kind of, sets the tone that this is the kind of movie that you're going to see. We're going to get right to the action, and then we're going to get, we're going to show you what you want. You're here for deaths. This is a horror movie.
Yep. You're here for cool kills, quick kills, and that's what you're getting.
But what's odd is the opening credits. You see a bunch of punkers in kind of like a Cadillac. They're spitting at people that they're driving by.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
So I wanted to ask you, I was curious what you think. Were those real people that they were heckling? Because it looked like they're real people.
Yeah, they did look upset. It was kind of odd. And they also had like the panel van, and the woman had her, her boobs out.
Yeah, it was a little weird. Like she was flashing the punks.
It was like this whole big weird thing, and I honestly thought that these characters were going to be ones that we would see throughout the entire film, almost kind of like Return of the Living Dead. Like, these are our main characters.
You brought something up great. Like, that's exactly what I thought was going to be happening. I was actually getting really excited because the music that they're playing over the opening credits was actually kind of a cool song. And I was like, oh, are we going to get another, like, is this going to be another punk rock horror movie where we're getting like a cool soundtrack and our main characters are kind of like these like punk lowlives, but they kind of band together to fight some evil guy? I don't know. Like, I was getting really excited, and I was kind of disappointed when that didn't turn out to be the case.
Exactly. They eventually get to the hotel. The main punk rocker, he goes up to a cop, and the cop, he just keeps saying, "Give me your tickets. Let me see your tickets. Let me see the tickets." And then the lead punk rocker pulls out a switchblade, but it's one of those, it's a comb, a switch comb. And he's like, "I got your tickets right here."
Kappa.
Yeah. Hey, Kappa.
Why the hell is there a cop taking tickets?
I don't know.
To me.
Exactly, because there's nothing evil going on right now that anyone would know about. No one knows that Yvonne is dead.
No, yeah, it's totally under wraps at this point. They're just like they're just like doing security detail. But why would he be taking tickets for this private event? It makes no sense.
Really weird. So we eventually cut back to Ernie and D. Now, Ernie is played by Jed Mills, he's done a couple TV shows. He was in the movie Casino. He was Jack Hardy in
Oh,
that.
okay.
He was in Twin Peaks, but he's never really hit any high highs ever again. And D, or Diane, or Blaze, she has freaking 3 names in this movie,
Yep.
is played by Roz Kelly, who, to me, the most important role that she had was Pinky Tuscadero in Happy Days. She was actually one
Really?
of the
Huh.
people that the Fonz fell in love with. She had a 3-episode arc, and then she was gone.
Huh.
Yeah,
I feel like that had to have been the high of her career, because New Year's Evil, not so much.
yeah, exactly. So we see them. They're in the hotel room. They're kind of just idle chit-chatting, and in walks the worst character in the film, Derek.
Oh God, yes.
Derek, played by Grant Cramer. He's actually been in a couple other things more recently. He's going to be in The Return of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space in 3D. But
Really?
this
Huh.
guy is shit.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the worst actors I've seen in film in a while.
You know, he kind of reminded me of the kid from Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I don't know why. I think it was just kind of like that, kind of like longer blonde hair. It reminded, for some reason, it
Yeah.
reminded me of that kid, but like no comparison. I mean, hearing the Silent Night, Deadly Night guy, yell punish at people, it was just, I would much rather be watching that movie.
Exactly. Derek, he's blonde hair, blue eyes. He's got this pencil thin tie, and he's. Did you notice that the coat that he's wearing has coattails? Like, it comes down past his knees.
I did, yeah. It looked like a tuxedo overcoat, but
Yeah.
he also had like the sleeves rolled up too at the same time. It was a really strange look.
The 80s
80s
man.
fashion man.
I guess. Really weird. He's there. He's giving his mom some flowers, and he's like, I got some great news for you. I'm going to be in a new TV series, Spaceship America. Horrible title.
Sounds great, kid.
That sounds like a TV show that's going to get canceled in 2 episodes.
That sounds like a pilot that's not even going to get picked up at all.
Yeah. D, though, does not give a shit. She's more
No.
worried about her show that's about to go on. She goes back. She starts getting ready. She's wearing a dress that I swear they stole from the set of Ghostbusters. This is the thing that Dana Barrett
Oh my God,
wears.
you're right. That kind of like iridescent, like shimmery red, but
Yes.
it also has like a gasoline slick look to it.
Yeah. It is like stereotypical, like, oh, this is sexy 80s
Yeah.
dress.
I mean,
And she puts a horrible leopard print coat over it as well.
80s, man.
So awful.
I feel like
Oh.
we have to like talk a little bit about the fact that the son walks in, annoying son. First of all, he looks like he's about like 10 years younger than his mother.
Oh yeah.
It's a really weird dynamic. They look like they're the same age. But also when she's getting ready and changing into that horrible dress, the kid, he's like looking in the open bathroom door at her the entire time.
You know, I honestly expected some like incestuous overtones throughout the film that we never got because of this right here.
Okay.
He seems
That was
very interested in like looking at his mom getting dressed and
yeah.
bringing the roses. He almost seems like he's a scorned lover when she kind of just doesn't give him the time of day.
Yeah, you're right. I guess with the flowers, it does kind of have that kind of weird, like it's like something a boyfriend would do if he was, in the doghouse or something.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of odd. And Derek is pissed that the mom, D, Blaze, isn't giving back the love.
Yeah.
And she's like, why don't you come down and watch the show?
Yeah.
He's gonna watch it on TV though.
Yeah, like didn't even hear him. I mean, he's like trying to like, hey mom, it's a great accomplishment. I got a part in a show. Be proud of me, please. Nope.
It's nope, she does not care because she's the host of Hollywood Hotline. Now it's kind of weird. It's a radio show that's being broadcasted on TV. And
it's got like a weird call-in show vibe to it.
Yeah. That like people are supposed to call in with their favorite songs of the year, and then they're going to play the top hit at midnight, but it's being simulcast across the entire country. So everyone's hearing this, and it's specifically new wave rock.
Yeah, they introduce it specifically like the hottest new wave rock tracks of the year. That seems really niche for like a nationwide primetime, New Year's Eve event.
I don't know too much new wave rock myself. I probably maybe I
the Cars.
I guess the Cars, the Police, Talking Heads. I guess those would all be considered like around the same area as new wave rock.
Yeah, but even then, that's not even the music that they seem to be playing. The music that they play on the show is more punk rock / kind of like heavy metal music, in like love ballads too.
In fact, the band is called Rock Band Shadow that they play throughout. It's that, and then another artist called Made in Japan. Those are the two acts that played throughout the entire film.
Were they real bands?
And it's Rock Band and Shadow was Made in Japan. I couldn't find anything about them. So there's actually one of the bands was an actual band. The other one seems to either have been just made up for this or just fell into so much obscurity that no one on the internet remembers them.
They've been scrubbed from history.
Yeah. So we find out that Dee has another name, Blaze. That's her persona for the TV show, radio show for KBOT FM in stereo.
Wow, stereo.
Blaze even says that the show, even though it's called Hollywood Hotline, the show for the New Year is New Year's Evil. Did you catch that as well?
Wait, say that again? No, I didn't catch that.
So she's like, we're here for the show on KBOT FM, Hollywood Hotline, and tonight is New Year's Evil.
I didn't. Why would she say that? That doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever. And she's down in like in this auditorium-esque place where you see all the punk rockers that we saw from the beginning. We see the camera people, and then there's 3 other people behind red phones, and they're taking requests, and they're taking, calling up and answering from other people.
It looks like a PBS, like a fundraiser hour.
Yeah. Blaze goes, you call in, the number from our regular show. And she kind of like winks at the camera. Horrible. You always need to remind the audience what the phone number is. Always. What if it's my first time watching this show?
Yeah. Good luck. Guess your song's
actually they get someone to call, and it's a woman who, is on the other end of the phone. She's like, my favorite song was We Don't Need No Education, which is obviously that song, they're talking about the song by oh my God, Pink Floyd.
There you go.
Which is another brick in the wall. So I which kind of like made me think, do they have to ask permission to say the name of the song?
I was wondering, maybe it's like just they didn't say the band name. I guess they leave out just enough detail where it's like ambiguous enough they didn't have to pay for it.
So if we made a movie and I was like, oh man, Greg, my favorite song is by Van Halen, would Van Halen all of a sudden be like, you owe us $500?
It's a good question. I feel like that'd be crazy if we did. I feel like we're playing the song. That'd be one thing.
Like Van Hagar. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing.
It's Van Halen with 2 V's.
Vans. Well, I like Vans Halen.
Vans Halen from Germany.
From Germany, yes, the big American rock band. So after Blaze takes the phone call, she gets another phone call from a guy who's using this vocoder in his mouth,
right,
to
mask the voice,
kind of make it sound. Yeah, he masks it, and he's like, "Call me evil." Now, Greg, immediately, I thought that this entire transaction here broke a lot of horror movie rules, because you see the guy's face immediately.
Yes, I wrote that down specifically, and I say what I wrote down in my notes was, why are we seeing the killer's face so early? Because I don't even need to see this guy kill someone to know that this is the killer, and we're seeing his face. Like he's in like a phone booth or something, so we see him,
Yeah,
with the mouthpiece of the vocoder up to his face, and it's like, wait, movie, stop showing me the killer. Like you're ruining all of the suspense. And yet it does
exactly.
it.
Because for a second there, you're like, okay, maybe it could be the son. Maybe it could be the Ernie,
The
the
manager, yeah,
manager guy. Who knows? We don't know what the entire plot is because we're pretty early into the movie.
right.
But no, they just immediately go on Front Street. This guy, Evil, is the killer.
Clever name, man.
Yeah. He calls in and he says, my New Year's resolution is to commit murder at midnight, every midnight across the continental United States.
Right, like every time zone's midnight. He's gonna kill one on Eastern time midnight, kill one on Central Mountain time, then Pacific is gonna be the grand finale.
Which is cool.
Yeah, that's a
I
clever
like
idea.
that idea. He's not reaching far enough. He really should have gone for 24.
That would have been cool.
That would have been. Just think if it was kind of like a Fast and the Furious type movie where he's always racing to the next time zone to kill someone in the next time zone.
Oh, so you're saying he actually has to be in that time? But
In that time zone.
that's like a Cannonball Run kind of a thing.
Yeah. He could have like hijacked a plane, kidnapped 24 people, and then as he's flying into the new time zone, just kick that person out, right?
I mean, at that point, if you're in the plane, just drop a bomb in every time zone.
Man.
It's gonna land on someone.
That would be great. Just random bombs dropping from the sky.
There you go.
That is the 2020 remake for New Year's Evil right there. Because everything always has to be a little bit higher.
There
right?
we go. Yeah, that'd be the perfect horror movie for 2021. The kind of like looking back on 2020, and yeah, perfect.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote here because I thought maybe, there would be a little more mystery to it. Like, okay, so we know at least it's not the son that's the killer because we see this guy. But so Dee tells Ernie she's scared and that she wants more cops protecting her because she got this very intimidating phone call. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to just like 2 minutes of people moshing in the crowd.
Oh my God. It's like I feel like the whole first half of the movie is like 90% B-roll of just bands playing and shots of random people in bars and like the mosh pits, which okay, we get it. It's a rock band playing a concert on TV. Enough. Move on.
There certainly is a lot of fluff in this film because I think if you took this out, it would be sub or around 60-minute film.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's already like 79, 80 minutes.
Yeah, barely a movie.
With all that padding, so yikes, it's like shopping mall short.
So we see Evil, the killer. He goes to a place called Crawford Sanitarium. And he sneaks past a guy who's throwing out the garbage. And he has a duffel bag and a radio that's playing the broadcast show. And we also see the sanitarium workers are showing the patients the show at the same time. So there's like all these mental patients jumping around and acting like they're acting crazy, right? You're like, this is what a crazy person would do.
I was gonna say, like, I love these like lazy representations of mental institutions in movies, especially like bad movies like this. They're always like way off the wall. There's always like a guy jumping around like a frog and people like running in circles, and it's just like that. I mean, I'm no medical expert, but I'm pretty sure that's not what they're like.
Yeah. And when you said a frog, I thought of Frank Reynolds from Always Sunny.
Froggy.
Froggy,
no.
But yeah, I can't think that a sanitarium would be like this.
No, not
it
that
would have to be the
exaggerated.
most relaxed sanitarium ever. Do sanitariums even exist anymore?
I don't. I mean, there are obviously mental health institutions, but I don't think they call them sanitariums anymore.
Yeah, right. That seems like it fell out of vogue.
They call them the loony bins now.
Yeah, sanitarium seems like the place to, like if it was like the 50s and you wanted to divorce your wife, but you didn't want to get a divorce, you'd be like, oh, she's got like spiders in the head, doc.
She's got spiders in the head, doc. She needs to be institutionalized.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then you slip them like 100 and then you never see your wife again.
Just like, I feel like that's like in Mad Men where they send Betty Draper off to that quack to go,
get
psychoanalyzed. Just like, you're hysterical, honey.
remember Pete meets, I think it was Pete. He met someone that was like going through electric shock therapy and they were having an affair. And she was like, I'm going in for a round tomorrow. I won't remember you.
Yeah, morbid.
Oh, well, this was Madcast talking about Mad Men. So
Madcast.
we see the killer. He's walking through the sanitarium, and eventually he comes up to Jane, the nurse, who's walking down the hall and smoking a cigarette because it's the 80s and you can do what you want.
Safety violation number 2. Punks in the car without seatbelts and now smoking indoors.
Yeah. But the killer has turned into Jeff Winters. He looks like he's a doctor and he looks representable, right?
Yes.
He's got the lab coat on and he's still carrying around the boombox thing. And even the nurse is like, oh, look at that. You're playing music. He's like, yeah, it helps with the patients. He's like, but first, and he pops out like a thing of champagne.
Yeah.
And
she's loving it.
She's loving it. He's like, hey, you want to go drink this? And she kind of just like plays coy, and she's like, okay, yeah, let's go. And so Jeff and Jane, they start dancing with each other, listening to the radio, and it cuts back to the audience, and everyone looks zonked out of their heads. They're kind of like zombies, just like shuffling there. There's no real emotion left. The party has just started for some of these people.
Oh God, it's only 8:00. I'm sick of this music.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like me if I was there, 35 and like, oh my God,
I just want to go home.
Was a mistake. I don't want to do this anymore. So they start dancing, and then we see Lieutenant Clayton and Sergeant Green from the LAPD show up. Lieutenant Clayton, obviously, because he's lieutenant, he's wearing a nice brown suit, and the sergeant is wearing his normal police officer uniform. I have wrote here, oh, look, it's the useless cops. But boy, was I wrong. I would say that these were probably some of the best cops that I've ever seen in a horror film, especially the sergeant. And we'll come to that at the end of the film.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of assholes, but they were way more effective at, being cops than any of the other movies that we've seen so far.
And you're right. They were assholes because Lieutenant Clayton immediately, he's like, you made this problem and now you're complaining about it. And they're not threatening
heavy metal.
I kind of get where Lieutenant Clayton's coming from, especially from the 80s. You probably could have called it to any radio show and be like, I'm going to kill someone. And there's no way to trace it back to you. It's not like now where you have like caller ID and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually remember back when I was a teenager, there was a show in Florida, the Drew Garabo show on 104.1. And you needed to be 18 years or older to call in and talk on the radio.
How are they going to verify that?
So what they do is they ask you your birthday. They ask you a couple questions if they think that you're underage. And I totally messed it up.
Oh, no.
They're like, what year were you born? I was like 1984. And they're like, there's no way that you're 18. So I hung up and I tried to call back an hour later. And they were like, hey, man, you messed up an hour ago. We know you're not 18. So they obviously had some like record of caller ID and stuff like that.
Yeah, they knew.
So yeah, back then probably didn't have anything like that. So Lieutenant Clayton's like, you know what? If the killer does call, we'll record it and then we'll try to trace it.
Keep them on the line.
You have to trace it while they're on the line. So I hope Clayton understands that. And then Clayton looks at Detective Green and they say the most cop thing ever. Hell of a way to start a new year.
Hell of a way to start a new year. I was 2 weeks away from retirement.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of was kind of like stuff like
Cliché,
that. D or Blaze calls back to one of the rooms in the hotel and we see some pills and water. And Derek is looking like really scared to answer the phone.
Yeah, he's like staring at it. He's got kind of his hand slowly getting near it.
And Dee's like, hey, do you know where Yvonne is? And Derek's like, I haven't seen her. And then Derek tries to tell Dee the important information. And then she just hangs up. Derek immediately eats the 3 pills. And he looks like he's in pain. Like his head has pains.
Like immediately.
it was really weird. Then he like touches his hair. It, I know this guy's trying to act, but I don't know what he's trying to act.
It was really bad. Like that's why I couldn't tell. Like, was he in pain, so he was taking like some Advil, or did he take the pills and then they were causing him immediate pain? Yeah, it was just horrible acting.
Yes. So we cut back to Jeff the killer and Jane the nurse, and they're kissing. And Jane goes, "I've only known you for 10 minutes. Does it matter? Tonight? No, because it's New Year's, so you can have looser morals." And midnight's quickly approaching. And then we cut to nurses putting party hats and noisemakers in the patient's mouths.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, insane. The killer, he takes out his radio and he hits the record button, and then he starts stabbing the shit out of Jane.
Yep, like right at the stroke of midnight. Wham, wham.
Now, I will say, like, they have the violence, but you never see the act of violence committed. It's always post-fact violence.
Yeah, I would notice that too. I assume that was like a budgetary thing. Like they just didn't have the expertise paid for to come in and do some like special makeup effects. You know, they didn't have any Tom Savini's laying around for cheap. So just don't show it.
Yeah, we'll just show what it looks like after they're dead.
There we go. That's a lot easier.
Blaze gets a phone call on the set, and it's Evil. And he goes, "Do you remember me? You fucking idiot." Yes, of course.
No, I got lots of
remember
people calling
you.
it with vocoders, calling themselves evil like an idiot.
He's like, "I killed on midnight Eastern Standard Time." And then he replays the kill over the phone to her because he recorded it.
Yep.
And then he tells Blaze where to find the body. He's like, "It's in the sanitarium. It's somewhere in the sanitarium." Now there's no lag. Immediately we see a nurse find Jane's dead body.
Yep. She's like, I guess she was already wandering around looking for her because she wasn't helping with the patients. And yeah, just happened to wander into the right room in this giant hospital.
Now, when Jeff or Evil was killing Jane, he was stabbing in a downward motion. But when we see Jane, she has like slits across her neck.
Yes. I guess that's the downside to not showing us what he's actually doing with the knife, because maybe he did that too and we just didn't see it. I don't know.
The director's like, just make her look like she got killed with a knife. So her throat got slit.
No one told the makeup guy how it actually happened when they shot it yesterday.
Exactly. That, you know what, that very well could be it. There was no continuity person on the set.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, "Hey, he stabbed in a downward." Shut up.
She got a throat slit. That's cooler.
So we cut to Derek, who also has a switchblade. Now, switchblades, from my understanding, are illegal, but it seems like everyone and their mom has a switchblade in this movie.
A switchblade, switch comb.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you move to LA. They get you one for free.
They issue out
your complimentary switchblade.
Here's your illegal switchblade. Good luck.
Good luck.
So Derek takes the switchblade and he has like this pantyhose sheer fabric and he's biting it.
Yeah.
And he's cutting it and he's talking it to himself. And he's like, "You think I have a mental disorder?" And then he puts the pantyhose over his face like he's a killer. And then he pierces his own ear
with like a big needle or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he goes, "Now what do you think?"
Yep.
I think you're fucking crazy, Derek.
Yep.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was great.
Then we cut back to another like 3 minutes of dancing while Derek is destroying the roses.
Oh, he's like pulling the buds off of the roses. And was he eating them, or did I just imagine that?
I think you just imagined that. Though he very well could have been eating the roses.
Yeah.
It cuts to Jeff and he's prepping his very fake mustache on his face. Now, Jeff, the killer, he looks like a very normal dude. He has, the feathered back hair,
yep.
For
the 80s,
blonde. Yep. He looks like your typical 80s guy. And it's just a really quick cut of him putting the mustache on. Then Lieutenant Clayton goes up to Blaze and he's like, "Yeah, the killer's real." And
no shit.
Like, that was it. It was just like this really weird, like, "Yeah, the killer's real. We should be careful now.
We just found the body down in the sanitarium. Nurse discovered it."
And Jeff goes in the saddest disco nightclub in the world. It's just a bunch of white people listening to horrible disco music.
You're right. It was really depressing because there was like a dance floor in the back, but only like 3 or 4 people were dancing, and everyone just looked miserable.
And these are the people who don't get invited to the good parties, so they show up to like the disco.
They go to a bar,
and they're just like, "Oh, this is sad, but at least I'm not alone."
Happy New Year.
And Jeff walks up to a blonde and they start flirting. And, there's a little, back and forth between them. And then it cuts again to Lieutenant Clayton, who restates the purpose of the killer. He's like, he's going to kill every time it hits midnight across the USA. like, thank you.
Yeah, we know. He said that the first time he called, idiot.
That was only like 15 minutes ago. Jeff again re-engages the blonde and he's like, I'm Eric Estrada's business manager, not his. He's like, I do his investments. I don't get him gigs. I do his money.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit, Jeff?
I don't care. That's like way too much backstory for your fake impersonation, dude.
I'm glad that he has it down though. He's like a very methodical killer. He does have like, the idea of who his new character is.
Yep, the backstory, yep.
But I don't care.
Yeah, no. But Eric Estrada, ooh, big star.
Exactly. The blonde woman invites another friend along. She's like, oh, hey, Aunt Sally's coming with us. And Jeff goes, okay, the more the merrier. But he secretly looks pissed.
Yeah.
Because he just really wanted to kill the one blonde.
Plans
and now there's
foiled.
2 blondes.
I thought that was kind of a cool touch because it sort of subverts that audience thought that you're having at the time, which is like, if you were this lady, why would you go somewhere with this fake Tom Selleck looking dude? It's so sketchy. You're obviously going to get murdered. And then she says when she's bringing her friend along, she's like, you don't want someone, you don't want a girl to go off with a stranger by herself, do you? I was like, okay, that's kind of clever.
It is clever because you always see horror movies like Silence of the Lambs where you go, why are you getting in the van helping this dude in the middle of the night load a couch?
Oh yeah, load a couch. Like something is clearly off here. You like
exactly.
Use your best judgment. I mean, I guess you could play it up. Oh, she's been drinking and just not in the right mind. But come on, this guy's clearly a serial killer. Look at that mustache.
Exactly. Look at that fake mustache.
Look at that fake ass mustache.
And if that didn't tip you off that he was a serial killer, Jeff is getting super pissed while they're driving. He's like, I'm supposed to be there before 10 o'clock.
He's like slamming the steering wheel and looking like an idiot.
And then, one of the blondes is like, you need to do some TM, some transcendental meditation. It'll help you calm down.
Oh my God. This lady rambling about her meditation for like 2 or 3 minutes.
To be zen and to align his chakra and whatnot.
Yeah.
Jeff eventually pulls over to like a gas station liquor store and he gives the other blonde $100 and he's like, go buy the best bottle of champagne
just to get her out of the car. Yeah.
And then Jeff, he obviously has like the dumbest victim in the world. He's like, hey, look at this giant bag I have. There's weed in here. Want to smell it?
Stick your face in and smell it.
And then he puts the bag over her head and just chokes her to death.
Okay, so what an idiot! First of all, I mean, like, if you're clearly on the clock. Like this lady, she went into the store to get some champagne. She's going to be back in like 2 or 3 minutes. Time is of the essence. Why would you go for a strangulation there? That seems really like a really bad choice because I mean that's gonna take a couple minutes to. It's not an easy way to kill someone. Why wouldn't you take her out of the car or just stab her quick with that switchblade that I know you still have? It just makes no sense.
Besides not wanting to get your car bloody, I don't see why he wouldn't want to just like
get it over with quick.
Yeah,
you would think.
So it takes 7 to 14 seconds to strangle someone to the point of unconsciousness. And then after that, it takes at least another minute to cause death.
Right. Like you have to be without oxygen for a decent portion of time.
Yeah. So it kind of weird. I do agree with you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the other blonde is inside the liquor store buying the cheapest bottle of champagne because the clerk is like, 94, 95 makes 100. So she obviously got $95 back in change.
Yeah, like I thought that was kind of a cool touch. She's like clearly just trying to pocket the money. Good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. As she leaves the liquor store, she sees one of her friend's shoes in the middle of the road. And she walks down a little bit farther and finds another shoe. And then there's a dumpster with a blue piece of fabric hanging out. And I got to say, this was my favorite part because as the blonde opens up the dumpster, it's Jeff inside of there with a lighter and he like jumps at her.
He left that little breadcrumb trail and he's like, hee, gotcha.
I love it. You can see the joy in Jeff's face as he's like, I fucking fooled you.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to kill you.
That look, yeah, like when he's got the lighter up to his face, it's kind of cool. And he's got that big murderous grin on his face. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now, do you think that this was the intended goal of the kill? Do you think that Jeff, obviously he was like, it's 10 o'clock, I have to be somewhere. Do you think he was supposed to take the blonde originally somewhere else and kill her?
I have to believe, I mean, that this is all improvised at this point because he didn't expect to have two women in the car. So, I mean, maybe he was expecting to use that liquor store. Like you said, I mean, like maybe that part was planned, but yeah, I don't know. I assume that he was just so cunning that he's improvising at this point and somehow pulled it off.
Yeah. So he has no time. Evil calls in and tells Blaze that he's killed someone else, and he plays the tape, and he gives the location of where he did the murder, which is like the corner of Ventura. Now, Evil goes to his car and he starts stripping down. And we immediately see cops go right by him.
Quickest police response in the world.
Yeah. These two cops are my hero because they go up to the dumpster and they're like, hey, look, blood. And then a kitty cat jumps out and they're like, we need to get back up.
Oh my God. Like they were kind of idiots because they're like putting their fingerprints all over what is clearly like a murder scene. But
yeah,
the fact that they didn't fall for the bait and just like wander off and try to do it themselves, like we should call for backup first.
Exactly.
Thank you.
The cops eventually they follow a trail of evidence to someone's backyard. It's kind of convoluted how they get to this point, but they find one of the blondes dead on a swing set, and then they go over to a slide, and for some reason the other blonde at that moment slides down.
Yeah,
and she has like a gash over her boob.
These like, yeah, it reminded me of that part in the first Halloween movie where Laurie is walking through the house and she's finding all the dead bodies of her friends, and like the one guy like swings down from the ceiling at just the right time when she walks through the doorway. It's like, what did he like rig up with a timer and some kind of like little latch to unlatch, then let them swing down at just that moment?
It's like the Boo haunted house moment.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, look at the cavalcade of horrors. Jeff is driving and he's futzing with the radio, and he's dressed up as a priest now. This guy is like the hitman from the video game Hitman. He has all of his suits ready to go.
All these disguises ready to go. Yeah.
Some bikers razz him, and while he's messing with the radio, he hits the pack of bikers and knocks them over.
Yeah, like
obviously they're pissed and they're taking chase now, which Jeff finds solace in a drive-in movie theater.
Yes, I thought I actually got really excited when I saw like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're going into a drive-in and he's going to try to lose him in there. I thought that was kind of a cool touch.
Immediately as he parks, it cuts to a young couple, and the guy's just groping the hell out of this girl. They're smoking weed, and he's like, hey, you ready to have sex? And she's like, maybe next movie.
Maybe next. Just like stringing along. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Also, Jeff is like looking at a book of a priest and a nun, which I assumed was going to be his next victims.
Yeah, I thought that too. Because I think like at this point, he's already kind of behind schedule with having to deal with the whole liquor store and the two ladies. He's behind schedule. That's why he hits the bikers, because he's like frazzled. He's missing, he's losing time. And then, yeah, he's kind of like looking at his next victims. And I assume that's, like you said, he's trying to make his way to like a church or a monastery or something, because he's like looking at like a picture of another priest and a nun. Okay, that's where he's headed.
Exactly. Jeff realizes that the motorcycle gang has followed him into the drive-in movie theater. So he ditches the car. While he's making his escape, one of the motorcycle gang people actually confront him. Jeff goes, "I'm a man of peace, not violence," and then immediately stabs him in the gut.
He guts him, yeah. Oh,
That was awesome.
He didn't even try to play it off and like you wander off without hitting anyone. Nope, he immediately stabs him.
I love that there was no like overall confrontation, that he didn't try to like play into the priest part, that he was like, "Hey, let me distract you." Bam! Like right in the stomach.
Yeah, he didn't try to talk his way out of it. I guess like, yeah, he's on a schedule, man. He doesn't have time to play priest. He's gotta get these bikers out of the way.
So immediately, as if you didn't realize it, Jeff gets into the car or tries to steal the car of the young couple groping each other. Jeff drives away with the blonde in the back seat.
Yeah, kicks the guy out.
Now, he's like, "I'll pay you to let me go. We could even have sex if you let me go." Jeff isn't having any of this shit. And he almost runs over two drunk random pedestrians that are like in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yeah. It's like there's like no street lights. It's way out in a field somewhere, some kind of like rural street. And then these idiots, they look like they're like coming. They've got those little like hats with the tassels on them. The Shriner
party hats and the noisemakers
and they
stuff.
Just wander out of an empty field and almost into the street, almost get hit. Where did these idiots come from?
The girl in the back seat, though, she immediately jumps out of the car. She would have gotten away if she didn't started crying, because Jeff kind of lost her. And then he heard her sobbing. And then, there's a little more chase. She's hiding underneath a shed, and you can hear the cops in the background. And then it cuts to the two drunk guys. They're like, "Hey, yeah, that guy over there, blah, 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 blah."
Yep.
And Jeff is getting closer to the kill. He obviously spots the blonde.
Right, knows where she is.
The cops are like, "Hey, who are you?" And then they go up to the blonde lady who's hiding underneath the shed and like, "Are you okay?"
That was also okay. So this is all really, really, really weird, because when that happens, what you just described, we don't see the police officer in that scene. We just hear this disembodied voice saying, "Hey, who's that over there?" And then Evil runs off. And then, we see the girl again close up. She's looking really distressed and doesn't say anything. And we just get that disembodied voice of a cop again. It's like, "Are you okay, daughter?" Or not daughter, like, "Are you okay, honey?" And we don't actually see a police officer.
It was really weird. It's almost, I don't know, because I thought the girl would have played a more of a role later on in the film, like identifying Jeff, but we never see her again.
Yeah, she sees his face. You'd think so, but
like immediately they would have been like, "What does the killer look like?"
This whole
scene, he looks like a blonde guy.
Yeah, it looks like a blonde. Here in draw or go to the police sketch artist and get exactly that. And then, no spoilers yet, but like that would have solved the crime right then and there if she had described this guy to someone.
Yeah. It was kind of odd. After she gets away, the lieutenant goes up on the stadium for the Hollywood hotline and says to everyone, "If you leave the show, you can't come back in. And we're not going to let any new people come into the show either." Essentially, like, the place is on lockdown.
Right, they're locking it down, yep.
Which is smart. Like, the cops are immediately taking action as a result to the events that are coming around them.
Yeah, this guy's calling in, threatening people. We've confirmed that someone is out there murdering people, just like the call-in person said. Okay, well, they're clearly in danger here. Lock it down. Like, they've got cops posted all the exits and entrances, not letting anyone in or out, which we establish in a couple different ways. Like, there's like a guy and his wife saying, "Oh, we've got a reservation at this hotel. Sorry, lieutenant's orders, no one's in or out."
Exactly. It spliced in between all of these quick action beats, we see Derek creeping around. He's now wearing sunglasses underneath the sheer hose. Did you notice that?
I actually didn't realize that he had I didn't remember that he had the hose on still at that point.
What a weirdo. He had sunglasses that looked like they belonged to Cyclops from the X-Men.
Oh,
like this visor type
yeah,
thing.
They were a little, I kind of assumed that they were either like from one of the band members. They kind of looked really weird, or maybe that's just some kind of, it's a goofy New Year's Eve glasses. I don't know.
Goofy New Year's Eve glasses. It's definitely weird. He doesn't look he definitely looks mentally disturbed at this point.
Oh yeah.
Um, as he's creeping around, Blaze is introduced to a doctor, Dr. Reed. Dr. Reed informs Blaze that the victims that they have seen were mutilated. Specifically, the breasts have mutilation. And this is the sign of a psychopath with a mother fixation, which leads even more credence that Derek should be the killer.
Yep. Between the, I mean, as you said, if he's still walking around with the pantyhose on, he took a bunch of drugs. He's clearly unstable. You'd think that that's exactly where that was going, especially based on that whole spiel from the detective saying, okay, like based on the motives and what we've seen so far, this is the profile that we're working with.
Now Jeff pulls up to the hotel and he sees people being denied entrance. So he goes around back and he sees two cops. One of the cops goes inside, so now there's just one lone cop. And Jeff goes, "Hey, police officer, there's some drunk guy over here." And the cop walks over and immediately gets struck over the head with a brick.
Yeah, this is probably has to be the bad cop in the bunch. He like,
Oh,
why
yeah.
would you wander off without like hollering back to your partner, "Hey, I'm gonna go check something out. Watch entrance for me." He just wanders off. So okay.
Jeff, being the hitman that he is, immediately puts on the police officer uniform, and it fits him perfectly.
Which
Um,
makes note that cop was twice the size of him, like girth
Oh, yeah.
wise.
Blaze complains that her dress is getting sweaty, so she wants to go up alone. But the sergeant's like, "Oh, hell no, you're not."
No, yeah.
And he's like, someone just called in and they found a cop knocked out outside. So the cops already know that one of theirs has been knocked out, that the killer is potentially inside the building. Again, really good response
Yeah,
from these people.
immediately putting on a bodyguard on that girl. Like I think the cop that they send with Blaze, he's got to be like the other end of the spectrum from the idiot cop in the parking garage. Like, this guy is on point, cool as a cucumber the whole time.
Exactly. He's inspecting the room that Blaze is about to go into, and he pulls out his gun and he's like, "Freeze!" And it turns out that Derek is inside the room.
Idiot.
And Blaze is like, "Oh, that's my son. Don't worry about it." The cop is like, okay. Derek goes, "Mom, I have a surprise for you," and then leaves the room.
I've got a surprise for you, but I don't want any part of it now. And then runs off.
Exactly. So Blaze is sitting at the at like her dresser. There's like a mirror, a vanity. And we see this guy come out with a creepy ass mask, and he has the switchblade, and he takes the mask off, and it's Jeff. But it's not Jeff. It's Richard. Richard, the husband that was mentioned from the very beginning of the movie.
Yep, on the phone.
And Richard was like, "Oh, when I heard about the potential killings, I drove up here from Palm Springs."
Yeah, I drove up right away as soon as I heard.
And then Richard, being pretty smart, he immediately goes out and tells the cops, he's like, "Hey, I'm Richard. I'm the husband." Blaze is cool with it.
"Please don't shoot me. I was hiding."
Yeah.
Or what did he say? He was like on the John or something.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
The cop, though, is so smart. He's like, "I don't buy this bullshit."
Immediately,
So
yeah.
he calls up and he's like, "Hey, did anyone let Richard in, specifically the manager?" Because that was Richard's alibi. He's like, "The manager let me in."
Yep.
So, there's a little more talking. We kind of like see that Richard he's trying to play the good husband, but it's kind of coming off insincere, obviously, because he's the killer. And the cop kind of threatens Richard. He's like, "I'm looking after you.
Yeah.
Like, I got my eye on you."
This whole the whole relationship with Blaze and the husband, like, why was he in Palm Springs? Like, are they estranged? Are they separated? Are they like what was the whole dynamic supposed to be there? Because at the same time, like, he comes in and they act like it's totally normal for him to be there. So it wasn't established really well at all what the relationship really was at that point.
There was no given reason beside it being, "Hey, it's New Year's. He's down there partying."
Yeah, I guess. I mean, alone, separate from your wife. So that's why it's like, okay, maybe they're separated, but then when they come back, she's not like, "What are you doing here?" Like earlier in the movie, she's disappointed that he's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange.
So Richard goes back to this giant fuse box thing that has like a TV next to it, and he does like he clips a couple wires here and there, and then all of a sudden he can see like security cameras. It's
It
this guy obviously is an electrical engineer genius.
Yeah, that was a little like that was almost too much of a stretch for me. Like either he is really well prepared for this whole scheme, or he's just some secret genius that we didn't know about. Because yeah, he's like got like the little wires and the alligator clips, and he's like it's like he's shorting out something and or shunting, and it's really kind of an impressive little technical display that you would not see coming from this idiot so far.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Clayton essentially puts all of the information together. He goes, there's a Mercedes that was abandoned at the drive-in, and the driver knifed a biker who escaped in a stolen car with a girl hostage.
And
It was Richard Sullivan, Blaze's husband. He was also a patient at the sanitarium that we found the murdered woman from.
Yep. They immediately put it all together. The cop who just walked up to like check on that guy's story, he's like, oh, he said the manager let him in, and the manager's, there with him. It's like, the hell I did. And then they all kind of like it all, you can see the light bulb moment go off for all the cops in the scene there. It was kind of cool.
There's only one other moment in a horror movie where I've seen essentially like the plot unfold based off of one conversation, and that's Friday the 13th Part 5, in which they kill the guy who's imitating Jason, and they open up the wallet and they're like, oh, this is this guy whose son. Have you seen number 5?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Oh,
He's
God,
like,
it's spoiled.
they open up the wallet and like he's the father of the guy who got killed in the beginning of the film, which spurred him to be the killer throughout the entire film.
Yep.
And they're just like, that's the plot.
Unloading all of the details. Yeah. I mean, it sometimes it feels like it's like lazy in a rush. This one, I mean, I guess you could kind of put it, you could make
this one didn't feel lazy.
It didn't feel lazy. It felt more like police doing police detecting, like detective work, and it actually worked out.
So we cut to Blaze and the sergeant. They're inside the elevator, and Richard, Jeff, Evil is watching them throughout the security camera. And for some reason, he's able to control what the elevator does now because he's inside the fuse box.
That magic switchboard.
The magic fuse box that allows him to do everything. And he knocks them both out inside the elevator. But just for good measure, when the elevator door opens, Jeff kicks the sergeant right in the face.
That poor sergeant. Can I just say that whole part where he kind of like shorts out the elevator and they're like plunging into the basement? Blaze is clearly freaking out, and rightfully so. I mean, I think everyone would. But that cop, he doesn't even sweat. He's just like perfectly, again, cool as a cucumber. He's like, push that button. Try this button. No, okay, brace yourselves. And like doesn't lose his shit at all. It's kind of
very
amazing.
Stoic.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's overly prepared for this. Jeff sits down next to Blaze and essentially unfolds how evil he is.
Classic.
And it's a lot of like woman hatred that's coming from Jeff at this point. He's like, oh, women, they just treat you like shit and they abandon you.
Yeah, you're no different than any other floozy in my life.
And he goes, yeah, I killed Yvonne because she shortchanged me from my allowance that Blaze was giving. And he's like, now you're shortchanging our son. He auditioned for a role. He didn't even use your surname, and he got it all on his own, and you don't care.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what I'm going to do after I kill you? I'm going to go to the Rose Bowl with my boy.
Totally superfluous detail. Okay, thanks for that, I guess.
And then he like listens to her heartbeat and he goes, I can hear your heartbeat. I don't like that. And then he plays like the tapes of the murders and he's like, instant replay.
His whole like info dump is full of awkward lines like that. Like, yeah, I can hear your heartbeat. I don't like that. He says at some point, you castrated me and that is not nice.
Yeah. It's like nice guy moment where he's
total nice guy.
You're treating me bad because I'm a guy and I hate you because you're a woman.
And not totally because you're a psychopath.
Exactly. Very, very odd. And then we see some cops. They're like searching around the hotel room, and then we cut back to Richard, Jeff, Evil, putting chains and handcuffing Blaze to the bottom of the elevator. Now he wraps the chains around her neck. I thought he was gonna like suffocate her.
Yeah, the whole logistics of what he was trying to do. That's what I thought too. Like, because what I thought he was doing is, yeah, he had chained up her neck to the elevator, and then I thought he handcuffed her to like the doorway. So I thought that he was going to send the elevator up and like pull her apart.
Same here.
You could, yeah.
Oh my god, that would have been so cool.
Right? It would have been cool. But you won't get a good enough view of what he's doing. Like, I feel like you could have would have needed some close-ups of like what he was attaching it to, so he would see like, oh, like this is the horrible way that she's about to die, to kind of build the suspense up. But I was just confused about what he was doing.
Yeah. And it gets a little more confusing. So after he chains her up and puts her in the elevator, the same elevator that he drug her out of,
yeah,
the elevator that was empty, all of a sudden there's two characters inside of it.
Yeah, like people coming from the concert, I guess. They look based on the way they're dressed.
There's a black guy, and he looks like he has a bunch of scotch tape all over him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was really weird. Or like, I guess I kind of chalked it up to like maybe he got tied up in some party streamers, I guess.
Well, anyways, you see Blaze getting lifted up, which was really cool. I thought that effect looked really neat. Her getting lifted up into the air.
Oh yeah, the whole use of an elevator in kind of a slasher movie kill is pretty unique. I mean, I don't think I've seen that in any other movie before.
No, neither have I.
That's a clever idea.
So as the elevator's going up, eventually all the cops get in front of Jeff, Evil, Richard, and they start having like a little shootout. And the cops blow away the fuse box, which stops the elevator from crushing Blaze.
Yes, thankfully. Again, the magic fuse box, where if you hit it just right with a bunch of bullets, it will just stop. So
Richard immediately runs up the stairs, and then he puts that stupid like Richard Nixon mask back on. It looked like Richard Nixon.
It did. It was like really like a caricature Richard Nixon with a really giant chin and kind of a goofy smile. It was kind of creepy.
It was creepy. Very creepy. Richard Nixon's creepy guy. Yeah. As Richard is on the roof, the cops are like, "Don't do it." And he puts his gun down and his knife down. And then Richard starts quoting Shakespeare, Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Did you? Okay. I was wondering, is there some kind of poetry? I couldn't place it. Did you have to look up what it was?
I knew it was Shakespeare. I didn't know it was Hamlet.
Okay.
To die, to sleep, no more. And by his sleep, to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks the flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. I'm not good at reading Shakespeare.
At Old English, yeah.
Clayton's like, don't even think about jumping. And then Richard jumps.
And he jumps.
And he dies. And then Derek is immediately there at the bottom mourning his dad's death, which I would say like Derek is mourning his dad's death. Maybe he doesn't know that Richard was the killer. And I think anyone would be, like even if like, oh, like my dad turned out to be a serial killer, like I would still be sad about my dad.
If you saw him like dead at the back of like a giant building where he'd clearly jumped off, like that's pretty traumatizing no matter what.
Derek takes his mask off, the Richard Nixon mask, and he looks at it with like slight anger. And then we see Blaze being put in an ambulance. And then it cuts to the driver, and it's the Richard Nixon mask. It's Derek. And we see the other paramedic, the actual driver's been murdered, and he's on the floor of the ambulance.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then it drives away.
Yeah.
New Year's Evil.
That's kind of a cool little cliffhanger ending, setting up the kid as carrying on his dad's kind of crazy misogynistic murder spree. Yeah.
It's the ending of Friday the 13th Part 4 when Tommy Jarvis, number 5, where Tommy Jarvis takes on the persona of Jason, but the sequel just never lives up to it.
What's that part? Yeah, you're right. Because he had the Jason mask in the drawer, right?
Yeah.
That's right, man.
Yeah, this movie just ripped off fucking
What
Friday
the
the
hell,
13th
man?
Part 5.
0 stars. Get out of here.
Yeah, gone. New Year's Evil's dead to me. Yeah, you know what? If it sounded like the movie went by pretty quick, it's because there's just not a lot of stuff going on in it.
Yeah, I think.
But it is a good movie.
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining throughout. I mean, aside from the bits of filler that were a little, it was more in the beginning that there was a lot of filler. I think it kind of, got a little bit tighter towards the end. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't bored at all watching the movie. Some of like I said, the elevator kill was kind of a cool, or the attempt at an elevator kill was kind of a cool idea. And I think that classic like litmus test that we've got so far, where I didn't mouse over the window to see how much time was left at all during this movie.
Same here. I did make the classic mistake of I went, oh, this one's not too bad. And I've done that before on other movies that turned out to be horrible. Not Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype.
That was shit from the beginning. Yeah.
That was pure shit from the beginning. I mean, I'd give the movie a solid 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I have the same thing. 3 out of 5. I mean, I think as far as slasher movies go that we've done on the podcast, it's definitely better than Savage Weekend for sure. And I think I maybe probably put it on par with Schizoid, maybe a little bit better, maybe a little worse, depending on what metric you look at it by. But I think a solid on par with that. So yeah, I mean, it was an entertaining watch.
I think Schizoid, if you want to watch like weird. Well, actually, you know what? They both have kind of like an incest angle, because even in Schizoid, the daughter was very obsessed with the dad.
Yeah.
And then it always seemed like the dad was subtly obsessed with the daughter as well.
But yeah, kind of like you bring up a really good similarity, which I didn't key on until just now. Like they both kind of have this they're sort of like central neurosis with the killer is like issues with women. With either their wife or their mother, or there's that's kind of all tied up in the motivations of like why the killer is doing what he's doing. And I think it works a little bit better in Schizoid than it does in this one, because I think this one you don't realize that that's the case until he info dumps at the end with Blaze. But I mean, I think overall, I think they're both kind of good watches. I wouldn't necessarily say New Year's Evil was a whole lot better or worse than Schizoid.
This is the movie that you put on when you want to watch something with a group of friends and have a good time. Schizoid is the movie that you put on when you want something a little more thinky, and you don't.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not one that you're gonna like watch with your friends and like laugh through and have a super great time.
Yeah, there are a couple like kind of goofy lines and funny bad moments, but overall it was good enough that you're not going to be totally ripping on it the whole time. As a slasher movie, how do you think it measures up to like the greats and get the formula?
I mean, I think throughout it, we've kind of mentioned that, oh, this reminds me of that film, and that reminds me of this film. And obviously the writer knew what they were doing. I think the biggest takeaway or letdown is that we don't get to see the kills. And this is 1980.
Yep.
So I would say that, there's not a lot of censorship at this time in horror movies, so we should still be able to see those kills.
Yeah, I would have thought they've kind of at this point they've relaxed. I mean, we've had Dawn of the Dead at this point, and that one's pretty gruesome. And yeah, I think they would have started to relax. So that maybe it was like we said, that they just didn't have the budget to do it and show it and make it look cool.
Let's take a look here. Let's see if we can. I wonder what the budget was. I can't see anything here for it, but I would assume that it's a pretty low budget film. There's no names in this movie.
Yeah, it didn't look like they had to pull any big actors, so there probably not a lot of budget went there. I mean, we talked about in our first episode the fact that Cannon Group, especially probably now, they've gotten into their like, we're making 50 movies a year and we're just kind of churning them out really quick. And I mean, it was probably like a combination of they were on a tight deadline, or you've got $1 million, or if that, you've got $500,000, go make a slasher movie, get it done in 2 weeks. So
exactly.
Probably, yeah, to your point, probably whatever the budget was, it was probably not significant.
I would have liked to have seen a little more phone play between Blaze and Evil, and not have the killer revealed in the beginning. I think I would have thought that it was the son somehow for the longest time.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. I think there are two really good parts of it. Yeah, one, obviously the identity thing, like that was kind of a slasher no, but you bring up a really good point. I think it would have been really cool to have to play up the fact that she's trying to host this live call-in show and keeps getting these weird calls, and like having her sort of like try to like play it off, because you're still live on TV, but you're trying to like deal with these creepy calls that are escalating in terms of threat level. That could have been kind of a cool dynamic of her like trying to maintain like a live show while all that kind of going on in the background.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some, if they remade this movie, they could probably do it pretty well. But the movie wasn't bad overall, though. It's definitely one that I will probably rewatch during the New Year's. Bring it along with the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because this one's a pretty quick watch.
Yeah, there's not a lot, like you said, in terms of like the New Year's holidays. There's not a lot of horror movies that go with that holiday. So if you were to plot out your slasher movie every holiday calendar, this would definitely be one to go on New Year's Day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I that's all I really have to say about this movie. It was pretty quick. So let's talk about the next movie. Now, Greg, we've skipped The Apple. That's always something we can always go back to.
Yes.
We know that The Apple is considered to be one of the worst films ever made. So we know what we're getting into when we watch this. We know it's going to be bad. We know it's a musical. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that, though.
No, I mean, if you're suggesting that we take another breather week before we potentially try to tackle that monstrosity, I'm all for it.
So now I want you to be very careful when you go to Amazon Prime. Sometimes I watch these movies on my computer. Sometimes I watch them on my
like on your TV.
My Xbox. Enter the Ninja shows up twice on Amazon Prime. It is included with your Prime membership, but there's also one that you can rent.
Oh, it's the same movie?
It is the same movie. Make sure you don't pay to rent this movie.
That goes for everyone else out there who may be listening.
Yes.
Do not pay for a Canon film if you can help it.
Exactly. Because the next one is Enter the Ninja, the absorbing martial arts film that exposes ninjutsu, the lethal, little-known art of invisibility, which includes the use of hypnotism, explosives, and superhuman fighting skills. Now, I wonder if this is like, the early martial arts films where Americans are like, ninja?
Wow.
What's a ninja?
Cool and exotic. Yeah, I was just going to ask you if this is like one of the early parts of the kind of ninja craze that kind of, I mean, I feel like that went through the 80s into the 90s even. I remember kids movies when I was a kid that was like all about ninjas.
Hell, Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles didn't come out until 1984.
Three Ninjas.
So this is definitely maybe one of the first ones that people are kind of like, okay, ninjas. I don't know when like Jackie Chan started becoming really big in America, but this could be like the beginning of that martial arts craze.
It had to, I mean, it must have been, I feel like it would have already gotten started at least a little bit, just knowing what we know about Canon's MO, where they will look at what's look at what's hot and then try to like, okay, do another movie like that, which is basically like New Year's Eve. Give me a Friday the 13th, give me a Halloween. Maybe Enter the Ninja was, okay, we see there was some other big ninja movie that came out before it, and well, give me one of those. Maybe that's what this is.
Looks like I'll have some a little bit of homework to do to see what the first actual ninja movie, that became popular over in America is. But yes, Enter the Ninja will be our next one, and then after that, we're gonna have to. We're gonna watch Death Wish, or we can watch a drama called Body and Soul. If we skip this one, I probably wouldn't be too upset. Maybe we skip Body and Soul and we just watch Death Wish so we can get into Death Wish too.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's again, I feel like part of me says, let's be thorough in the catalog. Other part of me is just also wanting to skip the trash and go to the stuff that I know I would be more entertained by. So
I'll tell you what.
Capable hands.
Let's do Enter the Ninja next week. We'll figure out, 2 weeks from now, whether or not we want to do that. I can probably find a way to talk us out of watching Body and Soul and doing Death Wish. What's the quote of the week?
The quote of the week this week, I'm glad you asked, is it comes from the beginning of the movie when Blaze is introducing this weird call-in show. And after the announcer introduces her as Blaze, and she comes out behind the curtain, and she's like trying to she starts giving this like hype up speech, and she says some of the weirdest shit in that little hype up speech. For the quote of the week comes from that. She says, "Hey babies, it's time to slam down and get even. It's time to spin out and boil your hair,
Oh my God, that's
what? Right. For that one, I had to rewind it and listen to it 3 times just to make sure I got it right, because it is so nonsensical and weird. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was mind-numbingly weird.
That is a weird thing. The guy who wrote it understands English. These aren't like English things that they're saying.
Like that, like these, I mean, that's clearly what she was trying to go for, is to like rattle off a bunch of like heavy metal isms. But let's pick that apart a little bit. It's time to slam down. What is slamming down? Okay. And get even. That's a thing people say. Sure. Get even.
Yeah. Who are they getting even with?
I don't know. The man.
The man.
And then she says, it's time to spin out. What? In a car? No. And then the real brain melter, it's time to boil your hair. Boil your hair. What?
Boil your hair.
I don't know. Maybe that's an ism for listening to some really cool tunes, man. I don't know.
Boil your hair. Here's the thing. Like, I just Googled that, and what would happen if you boil your hair? Boiling your hair will break disulfide bonds. Disulfide bond, just like a permanent wave or a relaxer.
So,
okay,
what you're finding basically is actually boiling human hair, and not any kind of like goofy saying from the 80s. She just made that shit up, right?
It's not like a saying. It's not like, "Hey man, go boil your hair."
Go boil your hair. Go sit on it.
Yeah. It looks like it's an actual thing that you do with hair. What a weird thing.
Maybe Blaze is like a taxidermist in her free time.
Maybe
making pelts. Knows? I don't know.
That's how she got that leopard print jacket.
Yes. So
she killed her own leopard, boiled the hair,
and spinning out and slamming down.
I'm gonna say that to people, and it's gonna confuse them.
Hey,
they're gonna piss me off and be like, "Hey, you know what? Go boil your hair."
Go boil your hair. And I'll just we'll to all of our audience here, we'll leave you with that thinker of a quote, and go tell email us or send us a tweet if you know what boiling your hair means.
And that's right. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe. Wait, that transition didn't make any sense. You said leave us a tweet, and that's right. You can tweet us at That's Canon, or you can email us at that'scanon@gmail.com. Go ahead and send us a tweet, maybe an email. Give us some constructive criticism on how we can make this podcast more enjoyable for you, because that's what it really is all about. This isn't us just killing time because we're in a pandemic that's never going to end.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it is.
Oh wait, that's exact.
And remember, since we said it,
that's canon.
Canon Group is proud to introduce the practitioner of the oldest and ultimate martial art, the ninja. Enter the ninja.
This scroll is your license as a master of ninjutsu.
Starring Franco Nero, exploding into action as Cole, the White Ninja.